Okay, cool. All right, very good. So then that should just about do it for the audio tests. And I'm no longer hearing the echo. I think it's only when I, for some reason, have it turned up at any one point in time. Very strange. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. No, this is not normally how I start these things off. It's usually a little bit more, not cheerful, but chill. But it's been a while. And so, not quite just in the swing of things yet. If you are just now joining us and you have never heard me do this before, that's probably because I stopped doing this back in December of 2020. That's right, it's been almost 3 years since I put down that last book. And that was The Sin War. The first book in The Sin War, of course, which was The Birthright. And I'm trying to do this whole series to get that done before launch of Diablo 4. We are moving into Server Slam weekend as of this recording. We're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to try to get anywhere between 3 to 5 chapters in a day, usually starting around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give me plenty of time to get this done and still have enough time to, go to bed and go to work the next day. Because that's what I do. I work and then I come home and I work. That's my life. Oh well, I'm not complaining. I like what I do. It's fun. Well, this part anyway. So, we are going to be reading Chapter 2 of The Sin War, which is Scales of the Serpent. And we're going to read the entire chapter segment. So, 1 through 3 or 1 through 5 or however many chapters I do. And then we're going to have a lore discussion after the fact. And this will all appear on Lore Tales over on YouTube. Links should be in the About section of this channel. And you will be able to access the archived readings, as well as the lore discussions after the fact. Alright, that concludes tonight's reading. I want to thank everybody for joining. Of course, hit follow if you're new here. Thanks for the raid. There's Socks the Fox if you're still here. Appreciate that a lot. And so, let's go into the second half. Let's go into the discussion period. So, opening up in Scales of the Serpent, we see some very interesting points that are once again sort of already making their headway in Diablo 4. If you have not played Diablo 4, the beta, or are planning on playing the Server Slam this weekend, slight bit of spoiler ahead. But it's not really much of a spoiler. We have seen some of this in gameplay trailers and such, that we are dealing with some of the underbelly workings of the Triune still. In one of the developer interviews back in 2019, they had talked about that the Triune were still kind of lurking in these small pockets of underground areas in Kyrgyzstan. And of course, we're actually responsible for Lilith's return. A lot of people still speculate that, I still see Rathma coming up as being what's summoned her back. No, Elias is not Rathma. We have debunked that thoroughly. Shout out to the Game Lore Discord server for nailing that or for putting that last nail in the coffin and saying no. And then of course in the beta we learn 100% that is true. So it's really been kind of one of those things that's building up. We also have not seen any sort of advertisement of the Triune itself, though the other key players are being advertised in like symbol form. If you go on Blizzard's Gear website, they actually have a symbol of the Cathedral of Light, the Zakarum, and the Herodrum. The Zakarum is the one that intrigues me, because the Zakarum, of course, if we remember back to Diablo 2, was infiltrated by Mephisto, as his soulstone was driven into the Kehegan Sankakur. That was, of course, they tried Kalim, but Kalim's will was far too great, and we smashed his compelling orb with Kalim's will and made our way into the Durns of frickin' hate, which everybody hates as a level, unless you're just a sadistic son of a gun and you love that level, which you're probably a terrible person too, and you like eating nachos off the floor, weirdo. I'm just kidding. So you do kind of see how the Triune likes to walk around and sort of masked in this guise of something else, something more divine. And since Mephisto did have ties to the Zakarum back in those days, it should actually come as no surprise that we have already seen points in Diablo 4 where the Zakarum have outposts, specifically in one I think is called is it? It's not Yelesna, is it? I think it actually might be. Because it's not Kielvashad, it's got to be Yelesna. Up in the hills of Yelesna, there's a Zakarum church, and behind the main statue within is actually, into the lower levels, a cave for the Triune. So they're actually, by my, this is not 100% confirmed yet, but I do believe it to be the case. They are using the Zakarum as a front. So once again, we see that kind of mirrored in what happened during the Sin War. You have the Cathedral of Light, you have the Triune, who masks itself as this holy presence, but is really this demonic curse. And then you have your other party, which is, of course, the hero and or Lilith guiding the way. There's actually like 5 parties going on at that entire time, but we'll get into more of that later. Into that pretty much covers from chapter 1, a little bit into chapter 2, we meet Gulag again, which I had initially tried to recall. He died earlier on in the series, but that we got into a whole discussion about that, and my memory was rusty, so that's fun. And Gulag actually dies in this chapter, which is really interesting how that happened. And of course, we see once again Astroga up in the corners, just kind of chilling out, and being a spider and nasty, and being a Astroga as Astroga will. Then Lilith. Lilith once again appearing in a much different fashion from what we see. Maybe this is the beast of Fang and Claw that we keep hearing about in other parts of the lore, especially during the Purge. Maybe. And then what we see with her Diablo 4 is just a more, I decided to look pretty today, and I'm just kind of go dress. It's lovely. Bountiful form. Man, her boobs ain't that big. Come on now, let's be real. That's a minor gripe. And then finally, into chapter 3. And we meet, once again, Rathma and Trugul. And this is actually one of my favorite parts, and we start to see it more and more kind of mirrored through all of these chapters, where we see the power of the Nephilim really manifesting. This is always a very interesting power in itself, is the ability to self-actualize. That anything that you put your mind to is manifested in reality. The fact that as we find out actually in this book, that there is such a connection between the Nephilim and Sanctuary, and reality itself, that there's a really great lore reason behind it. I want to get to that part in this book before we talk about that, of course. But just know that moving forward, that the true power of the Nephilim is self-actualization, the ability to conceptualize events in reality itself. And in the game, that sort of meta understanding manifests itself when you're sitting there powering up your character. So your character is skilled in their training. Like if you're a demon hunter or a necromancer or a barbarian, your training is what you were raised with the understanding of. But the fact that you continue to grow in that beyond normal means and are able to even take down a prime evil like Diablo or Mephisto or Baal or any of the other lessers like Andariel, Duriel, Asmodan, or Belial, and even face off against Malthael himself and his, just raw, unbridled freaking angel of death form. The reason why is because they're able to ascend their power to that point. In Diablo 3, this is even more prevalent because the World Stone was destroyed. Back in Diablo 2. But in Diablo 2, even, when you're growing your power as a character, it's because of your ability to, grow within that understanding. So your understanding becomes the manifested form that you inhabit. If that makes any freaking sense at all. Your training is accented because of the fact that you understand that. And so you see that within yourself. And it must be thundering outside. That's fun. And so it manifests itself in that form. And that's what we see here with Odyssean being able to basically just hold his breath and keep the temple from collapsing and do all this other crazy stuff like manifest light that burns and singes spiders, but it's just warm to him. He doesn't really care. All of these abilities are simply in essence, the power of self-actualization. It's a really cool concept. It's always kind of a little bit weird when you start reading these books and you're like, wait, they're doing what now? Hold on. They're just manifesting light orbs and all this other crazy crap. Like, what's the real power? But then you wrap your mind around that concept. And again, we'll get to the part that actually talks about the reason behind it. It really calls into play that level of meta understanding with the games. And it starts to really make sense. The lore behind Diablo is actually very, very, very carefully constructed. And even though it seems like it's a little bit random at times and there's some serious retcon action going on, ambiguous things like that just happen. It really is a well-crafted story. And sometimes we just don't do it justice. You know, even like when I had to write the, I didn't have to, but I did it. When I wrote the story synopsis over there on Dark Lord Dash's channel, the cool thing about that was that I actually had to be vague and that I couldn't give a whole lot away, just to try to make the recap as short as possible. It was like 18 minutes long, and he wanted 10 minutes. I was like, there's no freaking way. So that was actually a really cool bit, and the fact that I was able to do that. Good night. I guess I should probably log off, huh? Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I really hope that you come back, and of course, hit that follow button if you haven't already. Check out our About section. Reminds me of Eastern thought that your mind creates your reality, and if you can focus on hone that skill, you can change things around you and ultimately yourself. And that's really, really a great concept, Galactic Core. Hey, buddy. Because the fact is that once you start really reading into like the different hello friend that they pulled from all the different like nationalities and all the different religions and all the different practices and everything that they really reached into, it's so vast. Even the story, like just going back and you see kind of the evolution of different religions. So Anu in Tathamet, or in that case Tiamat. It's not Tiamat in the game, but it is Tathamet. But Anu and Tathamet is bordering on Macedonian or Babylonian. Then you move forward a little bit, you start getting into angel and demons, so you're going into Abrahamic lore. And then further on, you start seeing the rise of... We good? Am I still on? Hang on. I think I'm still on. Hello? Oh no! Did I lose connection? I think. Oh, I'm good. Okay, cool. All right. Sorry, I had a minor blip and everything. Yeah, great. Woo. The storm's kicking up pretty hard outside. I'm probably gonna lose power again. So, let me just wrap this up by simply saying that you see the evolution of religion, even further into the birth of Christianity and Catholicism, sort of mirrored in that lore. But there's also different things like Hinduism and Buddhism and all this all this other sort of creation of religions and manifesting within Diablo. It's very, very diverse. That's the word I was looking for. I'll find it eventually. Anyway, thank you all again. Make sure you hit the follow button. I'm going to try to keep getting better and better and better and better and get back to reading. I'm trying to get this all done before June 1st, so wish me luck. And of course, thank you all for your support. I love y'all, and we will see you in the next stream. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say much love and peace from us to you. And y'all take care. Thank you all for the love.